Hi everyone, I'm Bruce Swartz. Welcome and thanks so much for taking the time to check out my work, guys. I greatly appreciate it. Happy to connect with many new people, which I always do here. So many countries are coming here now to look at my work. So that means, I don't advertise. All I do is the people that come here help me. We share it a little bit. It's sort of like a small family. This is what we really are online, and that's okay because that way we'll be able to focus more of our attention on a smaller group maybe. For me, it's sort of really cool for me to be able to interact with all of you, but of course, now I can't interact with everyone all of the time, but I will get around to one of your comments. And if not, post it 2 or 3 times in capital letters. I'll see it in notifications. I won't be insulted. Don't worry about it. I know how it is not being able to get answered because I know some of you and well, all of you are asking me questions, guys, that I so appreciate. This is the moon surface. This is the surface of the moon, and I don't know how much of a percentage of the surface is this way, but I'm going to confirm to you that there's a 10 to 15% that I've seen so far. I'd say even 20 to 25% of the surface is this way. In most of the areas and around the craters, we see white surfaces, and these white surfaces are very blinding. And then we get smudges. Like, look here. A lot of people say, just like NASA photos, why are there smudges in your photos? Well, maybe they're not the same smudges, but these smudges are actually structures. And this is what we're going to go see a bit further beside Bianchini Crater, Bianchini City. It's just that simple. Major platforms and connecting bridges and corridors that prove to us very easily using common sense that the moon's surface was definitely manipulated. Everything's chiseled out, right? Look at all these beautiful levels. And if it was all natural, why would they have not mentioned this beauty and natural beauty? And look at all the colors on the surface. I assure you, it's all natural. And the color really does come out by itself. I've proven it by zooming in to the footage live right in front of the screen, and the color does come out. I've done it maybe 5-6 times, and it's really, really a good proof. And for those disbelievers, take a look at these videos and you'll see a lot of truth. There's no bullshit here. It's just straight up surface. And you can't say anything about it. That these objects that you're seeing, whether natural or not, were never ever mentioned by NASA. Here we go, guys. Bottom right, check it out. A long, pole-like, cylindrical-like object. It's not very cylindrical, but it's a long object floating around on the surface of the moon. And again, we're seeing sporadic lighting light up on the surface, some movement on the surface. See that? Bottom right? Another object floating across. So we're seeing so many different shapes on the surface. I'm really happy about this, to see the different objects, some looking alive, some looking just like objects, and see again sporadically on the surface we're seeing lights, we're seeing hazes, we're seeing structures appear as the haze moves over, revealing other areas for us. So it's pretty fascinating. So now we're coming up to an area between Copernicus crater and Eratosthenes crater. We can see 90-degree angles right there. Listen, it's because the ejecta is not touching the surface. You understand? It looks elevated, and these pipes are way too symmetrical, or objects, to be anything natural. It's just constructed. It's obvious. People are saying, oh, it's too perfect. It's pixelation. Well, those of you, look into pixelation for Pete's sakes. It's not these objects, that's for sure. Pixelation are flat, one surface area, rectangular objects or X's or dots. This has nothing to do with pixelation. This is beside Bianchini crater. These structures look like a blur. In all footage of everyone, it's a blur over the surface to the right of Bianchini crater. But that blur, inside of that light, there's activity, there's objects, there's movement. And these are the objects that we are seeing. The color, once an X-ray is presented to us as a greener object, it is a different color. And this is why we are seeing the blur. This is a beautiful close-up again of more clarity. Each little snippet or section that I'm able to clarify like this is really, really great to see. Look at what we're looking at. It's just a beautiful collection of Well, so long me, just obvious way of building on the surface. One, if there's an atmosphere, there still could be. But again, if there wasn't an atmosphere, maybe they could be closing themselves into these on these major platforms, which could be all the transportation could be going through, to, and from everywhere. So to get to your area or your house or your dwelling or your work, all you'd have to do is take whatever transportation is going through these big platform objects like tunnels, and then you'd obviously be able to get right out to where you have to go to work. It's obvious. I mean, look at the setup. It is a construction. And if it's a construction, well, if it's not us humans that did this, it's definitely an intelligent species. And look at the beauty in it. I've clarified it here. Here's just absolutely stunning. Look at the objects. I'm trying to get as close as I can to show you the actual surface. These objects, natural or not, are there. And let me tell you, even if they're natural, why didn't NASA mention them then? For those of you saying, oh, they're probably natural. No, NASA never mentioned any thousands of objects, natural objects beside Bianchini crater. We're like 20 miles from Bianchini, for Pete's sakes. The proof is right there. I showed, look at the platform on the top right. Wow, just more proof. Not just Bianchini crater, but the Southern Highlands. See this wall here? It's all connected to a 90-degree angle and another wall with structures on top. You see, this is the proof that I have, and I know that there are objects on the surface amongst other objects. I'm going to show you something else. So we have constructed objects at the back of this beautiful wall of some kind that has a hole in front of it that descends with other levels that I've also clarified in recent videos. And check this out. These are the elevated high structures at the back. A round crater with a flat surface all the way around with the road that goes down. White, same colored reflectivity structures as the surface on the left. It's right one beside the other in Southern Highlands, and there's my proof. These objects are constructed. That's obvious. And they've been there for ages. But now here's the thing. Have they been building? Because if no one's noticing these close structures, where just off to the right of Bianchini crater, the 45-kilometer bridge right up there on the top left. Now this is very real. And these little structures that look little to us are massive. They're very high off the surface too. Look at where they say there's a 1,000-foot wall on the moon. Every crater basically is taller than that wall. So basically, 3,000-4,000, I've seen 5,000-6,000 some kilometers that craters walls are elevated off the surface, and that would be pretty high. So I do believe we're seeing them through cloud cover. Here are more objects, and it really looks like one heck of a complex object. What is the moon? Is the moon watching us? If there were not aliens there, I mean, what would it be? What would these machines' use be? Like, how can there be a use for a machine on an object that's been there for thousands of years, supposedly, and it's not doing nothing? That's a lot of bullcrap. I find the moon is very clean, and I don't see many damaged structures. From what I'm seeing, I'm seeing a clouded haze over top of an active surface, an inhabited surface. So if you're all wondering, for some of you, like many of you asked me, why are you doing this, Bruce? Well, I've found a constructed object on the surface of the moon. So nobody's going to tell me that the moon is not holding constructed objects. As for its inhabitation, if it's inhabited, let me tell you, if it is not, it most definitely is visited, because we are seeing activity on the surface. And now, even closer to the surface, what looks even like biological creatures. It's the real thing, guys. Thanks for stopping by.